By the way, here's our website for those of you who have not visited the Tesseract Academy. We run free events. We have loads of free content there for senior professionals, anything around data science, blockchain, project management, product management. What we really specialize in is helping senior professionals understand technology, right? I've also written a couple of books in this area, like the Decision Maker's Handbook to Data Science. Feel free to send me an email if you want to get a copy. If you want to buy them hard print, you can always go on Amazon. That's like my Amazon page. Yeah, so I guess we can get started and more people will join soon. Give me a second to share. Okay, so I'll just do a very quick intro before Captain Grant can continue. So as I mentioned, yes, the Tesseract Academy's goal is to help senior professionals. Grant will also be talking more about this, and we're very lucky to have him with us here today. He's a veteran, and he has many different degrees, studied many different subjects. Recently he has spent a good amount of his time studying the application of Lean Six Sigma for AI. So as you know, AI is changing the world, and usually it's every few months we hear something groundbreaking. Okay, so I think the most recent groundbreaking development is around ChatGPT, which seems to be shaking multiple industries, the creative industries, in things like writing and copywriting, but also potentially the software development industry, right? So what this means is that in the very near future, senior professionals, decision makers will need to know how to work with AI. Will need to know how to work with data scientists, no matter what their background is. So we believe that this is our thesis in the Tesseract Academy, that AI is going to become like the internet. Okay, so no one is like now, oh, I'm proficient in knowing how to use the internet. Well, it sounds a bit ridiculous to say that, but 25 years ago, not everyone was familiar with the internet and how it works, and you know how you could build a website, right? So we think that AI and data science are going towards this way, and this means that it's important to understand the right principles for how to manage AI projects, and how to make sure that a business gets the most value for money out of an AI initiative. Okay, and this is where really having this kind of strategic thinking helps. And yes, so today Grant is going to be talking about, which is really innovative in this space of project management and AI. And yeah, without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'll invite Grant on the stage.
Good morning, and thank you, Professor Stelios, for the kind introduction. Just wanted to, first of all, say I really appreciate everybody being here. I know we got a few different time zones out there. I'm actually calling in from California today, so I'm in the Pacific time zone. I think we've got about maybe 8 or 9 hours across the board. So just gonna kind of keep things moving succinctly through a few points. I've got a PowerPoint that I'm looking to share here on my screen that just kind of goes into the agenda for today. Particularly, just going to be a quick kind of 10-15 minute discussion about the Lean Six Sigma system as a whole, and the artificial intelligence and machine learning implications. And so I'll just jump right into it. And if there's any questions along the way, please feel free to just put those in the text box, and we'll come back around to those. The last half hour will just be all kind of question, answer, and discussion. So as I go into the first, my first point here, just a little bit of background on myself before I go into the schedule.
Sorry, Grant, I think you're not sharing your screen. Maybe you've made them. Sometimes Zoom can be a bit confusing.
Let's see here, share screen. Oh, here it goes.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Here, let me see here. This one is, there we go.
Perfect. Yeah, we can see it. You're on mute though. Yeah, Grant, for some reason.
Let's
Okay,
see, is
now
that, can you guys see my screen there? It just,
we could see your screen earlier for some reason, but we
my
couldn't see you.
microphone turned off there. Let me try it one more time. If it doesn't work, sir, can I ask you to throw up the slides?
Yeah, I can share the slide on my end. It's not a
Okay,
problem.
thank you so much. I'll just quickly, I was just going to give some background on myself there. I've been in the business world for about 18 years. My background's in, my undergrad's in business management with the computer science engineering track. I studied a little bit of legal disciplines. I've got a postgraduate diploma in law from the United Kingdom, and I'm currently finishing up a PhD in systems design. Particularly, my dissertation focuses on Lean Six Sigma process improvement for artificial intelligence. I actually look into some systems in the medical field and some of the legalization that has to do with new medicines, and so kind of an interesting cross section there. Let's see here before I jump into the next one. Try and get my slides shared one more time here.
So maybe try when you do share Zoom, try to share the whole screen, maybe. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Can you guys
now
hear
it
me?
works. Yeah,
Okay,
perfect.
perfect. So there's a little bit better, throws everything I have up there. And again, really like this international cohort that we have today, because as we get into the globalization implications of Lean Six Sigma and AI, I think the more robust audience will kind of understand that. So just jumping into this real quick, the Lean Six Sigma system, for those who don't know, the history incepted through Motorola, which is an electronics manufacturing company. Specifically, they do a lot of cell phone inventing for the technology. And initially, the system of just Six Sigma was designed to reduce waste. Essentially, during the manufacturing process, Motorola sought to kind of identify breakdowns in their processes and then develop fixes, which I think they got it down to the Six Sigma means that there are like 1 million, for every like 1 million cell phones that were produced, there's maybe like a 1% defect rate that comes back on them. So there's a very high standard that was developed in like the early 80s for this reduction of waste. And so within that process configuration, the Lean Six Sigma developed these belt levels, and they're pretty easy to remember. There's just three of them. There's a yellow, green, and black belt level. The yellow is really just an introductory course for participants that want to engage in this process improvement activity. So myself, I've got a yellow belt in Lean Six Sigma leadership, which I showed on the last slide from Oxford University, which really kind of tailors the methodology more toward a leadership level, but that's normally what you'd find in the green belt level. So the green belts would be managers who are trained in actually managing the Lean Six Sigma process itself as it's being implemented in a wide variety of different applications, from business to leadership, organizational development, even within software programming. This is applicable. And then once you get up to the black belt levels, I'm still working on that. Those are the actual trainers that can certify Lean Six Sigma yellow and green belts. There is another level of like a master, a black belt, and that's more of like a strategic higher level operator who can look into things that are a little bit more beyond on like an organizational level. So rather than running just one process improvement, they might look to like annualize different methodologies to ensure that the process is continuously improved. Initially, this was all implemented in business. This was a very much a business theory for Lean Six Sigma. The Lean kind of goes to the idea of not only reducing waste, but decreasing costs to get there. Um, I guess in a nutshell, the way to explain it is that you could almost fix any problem in the world if you had enough money. But when you start getting into the lean aspect of process improvement, then you've got to find sort of the most advantageous bang for your buck or maximizing the input of man hours and cost to then get more savings and revenue generation at the end of the project. And quickly to highlight, I put a Kaizen experience as an Amazon regional training manager up there. A Kaizen is really just a micro Lean Six Sigma event that may happen over the course of one day. Lean Six Sigma projects are not really meant to be overly lengthy. Usually you want to be able to conduct this project in about maybe a week or even a month if you could get into that many man hours, but it's really something that's meant to be consolidated and um, robustly implemented over a shorter period of time. So for the project that I managed at Amazon, I was an inbound area manager, and essentially in one day, we developed a process to more effectively unload uh, shipments from inbound trucks. And so I was able to kind of discreetly break down the system with the help of my inbound team. And within a day, we just reduced the number of footsteps that people would take to unload these different carts. And simply by reducing the number of steps that some of these employees took, I was able to collectively, we were able to save Amazon about $1.2 million annualized, but within only a day or two of actual time away from the business. So these results can be extremely powerful in terms of reducing waste and increasing the revenue for many businesses. Once we get into the next phase here, overview of artificial intelligence and machine learning, a lot of very smart folks out there in the audience. So I'm sure you know what artificial intelligence is. It's a subsect of computer science that deals with theory of knowledge and learning constructs and things of that nature. How does that really apply, though, to the Lean Six Sigma model? Well, one big thing is the digitalization of metrics. When I worked for Amazon, this is in like 2010, 2011. So cloud computing was not really taking over yet. It was in its infancy. The capacity for a lot of databases across the board was not necessarily where it is today, meaning that the average data that you could house was a lot costlier, and so many of the digitalization of the metrics that you now find integrated with business are what is kind of giving the exponential power to the synergy between these two disciplines. And so as you look into fields like manufacturing, Amazon.com, for example, I mean, that's a highly warehouse driven environment. Um, so that's one application where you can see process improvement in like a traditional forum. But as I mentioned before, there's a lot of different integration that AI is coming across and disciplines you wouldn't have thought of before. I mean, let's say creative writing and the chat GPT bot that's now came out and the implications that that may have in the entertainment industry or the creative writing field. And so I think we're going to see a big transformation in the integral role that artificial intelligence and machine learning plays coming up in the next 3 to 5 years. So as I get into kind of the meat and potatoes here, unveiling the Lean Six Sigma plus AI synergy, what I realized through some of my dissertation research and through my yellow belt training is that the big key here is that the consistency of the data that's collected through Lean Six Sigma is going to be very, very groomed and much more consistent in terms of developing a cyclical database from which artificial intelligence can gather its results. So as we kind of use the Lean Six Sigma model to reduce the waste and get more accurate and precise data points, the artificial intelligence that pulls from that data set and then cyclically goes in to find waste or areas that a process of any sort could be improved will be exponentially magnified. And so when you kind of boost the two synergies of efficiency between not only the Lean Six Sigma, which has already saved billions of dollars across global economies of scale, with artificial intelligence, you're really going to give businesses that are able to harness this power a competitive edge. And this could be seen across, I mean, commercial applications, as we mentioned, but government is huge on reducing waste. That's one of their biggest dregs on their budget. So they'll look to implement this and adopt programs that are able to, you know, adhere to their specific security measurements and needs and things of that nature. We talked a little bit about engineering, but think about problems that don't initially present themselves to the benign observer. There might be deeply embedded facets to an engineering problem that only the combing of data and artificial intelligence will then uncover and unveil for improvement. So really, there's no end to where the Lean Six Sigma and AI synergy could be implemented, I feel like, across various disciplines. And so it's something for me that's very exciting. If anybody wants to see more of my papers and things like that, I'm always available to chat more on that. You know, who really benefits from this, I guess, at the end of the day? I talked about yellow, green, and the black belts, but for the audience here today and the participants that would be looking to increase your knowledge, it's really not just any one particular set of managers. I mean, we've got, you know, chief executive officers, the chief technology officers. Obviously, that's pretty typical for who's going to benefit. But even mid-level project managers. A lot of times when I worked for Amazon.com, I was kind of thrown into these projects, and I kind of wish I had a little bit of Lean Six Sigma before I was, you know, put in charge. It would have helped me out a little bit. So it would have been something that could have helped my professional development, even as a mid-level manager, or even as just a manager assigned to a specific project. These skill sets can be transferred, and, you know, they're usable for promotions within your organization. And you could even start an entire career path on Lean Six Sigma. It's its own sort of subsect that works within organizations, but it provides its own kind of career path if you're interested in those sort of quality management enterprises. And obviously, then for entrepreneurs being the final one, I used to run businesses. I've got a couple businesses on the side. I had a record label at one point in time. I worked in the entertainment industry a little bit, and anything that I could do to, you know, decrease my costs and increase my revenue, I was always seeking those outlets. And when I was younger, I definitely would have gained, I think, a little bit more out of my businesses initially had I focused on the data-driven process improvement through Lean Six Sigma. AI wasn't quite there back then. But it was something I could have used definitely in my own businesses. As we kind of dovetail into the second half of the course today, the last half was really going to be just 30 minutes of kind of question and answer. I know I jumped down those bullet points sort of in a rapid fashion. I want to leave time for the discussion. So with that being said, please, I open up the floor to any questions or comments, and I hope that was succinct and everybody enjoyed the quick briefing there.
Thank you, Grant. That was a very nice summary. Any questions? I mean, usually these events we like to have like a short introduction and then give it a bit more open open, have like more of a conversation, more interactive. So if you have any comments or any questions, feel free to either write in the chat or just unmute yourselves and speak. So anyone who'd like to go first? Anyone?
Maybe I'll go. Harshman here from Dublin.
Sure.
Thanks, Grant. It's nice to send explanation of kind of Lean Six Sigma and how it's kind of applied using AI, kind of artificial intelligence world. Can you kind of just speak more on some of the use cases that you would have seen across any specific areas or where this is more prominent? I know coming from a Lean Six Sigma background as well, and working on some of the AI projects, but like practicality of it in terms of use cases, would you have certain examples of how you would have kind of implemented it in a wider organization as such?
Sure, absolutely. And thank you for the accolades. So I'll kind of speak to my experience with the Kaizen and Amazon and go into more detail about how I sort of broke down the problem into discrete parts, which is what Lean Six Sigma, I think, tries to do. So as you're looking at a big process, that I'll use the example of a warehouse that has an inbound dock, and they've got all kinds of goods that come in every day. And essentially my job was to take all of the material from the truck, and then I had to get everything rescanned back into inventory and then stowed on a shelf so that when another person needed to come get an item to ship to the customer, they knew exactly where to go within this 1 million square foot warehouse. And everything was quality assured so that it would reduce the waste and the man hours and things like that. And so typically the easiest way I think to start on Lean Six Sigma might be in a kind of a warehouse or a traditional manufacturing type of environment. And so within this inbound situation, I had these carts basically, and each cart would have like 6 different totes on it. Like totes are like little boxes. And a lot of the trucks that came in would have DVDs, movies, really small items, you know, maybe books and things like that. And so you'd have these totes that would come off the truck. You'd have to scan what was on the tote and then essentially put all these totes on carts. And then people would take the carts out into wherever they were stowing these items for the day. And that would be an area that we'd want to have open, because if you can imagine like a bin, kind of like a cubby hole, you know, something kind of like that, they're basically just kind of taking these books and they're putting them in the different cubby holes, and they're trying to get, you know, some people could do like 400 books. The employees at Amazon were amazing. They could put like 400 books up an hour and stow them away. And so Lean Six Sigma, as I kind of applied the methodology to find out where the waste was, you really start by examining all those different steps that I just mentioned. So where are the carts staged so that when a worker comes up to grab a cart, is he close to the, you know, the area where the items are coming off the truck? And that seems kind of simple at first, because you'd say, well, why would you put the carts off, you know, far distance away from the truck? Well, in these big manufacturing warehouses and things like that, you know, you try to keep it organized, but not every dock can be used for the trucks, right? So you've got like 20 different docks that are going down. The truck may be in the one that's furthest to the right that time, and that just happens to be the only dock that was open. And so you kind of break down the process into its most primitive and basic discrete portions and parts. And then you can kind of start to realize or examine where the waste could be, or where you could maybe improve or consolidate or Sometimes you want to just completely get rid of a step. Sometimes you need to add a step, which would then save time. So it just kind of depends on looking at that small version of each step and then, determining what managerial step to make. That's an example of how we did things at the Amazon warehouse. But if you kind of took that mindset of breaking down a process into, each individual, almost painstakingly minute portions, you can see how Lean Six Sigma could apply to engineering software. It could apply to determining who might be the best leadership candidate for a particular project on a more interpersonal and organizational behavioral capacity. So I think there's a lot more disciplines that are now going to be able to use the Lean Six Sigma, because artificial intelligence allows us to observe that process and then cyclically go back and validate the results. Once we implement the results of Lean Six Sigma, we want to test over a period of time and measure the results. And I think that clarity of vision is where machine learning and artificial intelligence is going to supersede the contemporary workflow. But thank you, Singh.
Perfect. Thanks. Makes sense. Absolutely. You're talking about the whole kind of optimization, redesigning, engineering the process before you kind of use some of the kind of AI machine learning tooling, basically to look out for more optimizations, right? Okay. Perfect. Thanks.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. Great. Anyone else? Any other questions or anything you'd like to point out? Feel free to either write in the chat. Yeah, sure. I think someone's trying to speak. Okay, so there are no more questions, then we're going to leave it at that. How long does the training take? Sorry, Grant, what are you referring to?
Oh, I just thought I'd throw out another question there. If anyone's interested in knowing how long does it take to get certified for Lean Six Sigma, the yellow belt can be done in one day. Just to understand more the detail, there's a process that Lean Six Sigma sticks to. So it's pretty concise. I think green belt can be done it could be done in one day. The difference with the green belt certification is you actually have to run a process improvement project as part of the graduation stipulations. And so that could maybe take like an extra day. When I did my yellow belt, we broke it up like an hour and a half every day for a week. And then once you get to the master levels are a bit more intensive. And I think that might take like 40 to 60 hours of training. But just as a quick reference, you can get the certifications relatively quick and painless. So.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for the input, Grant. Great. So I'd say visit our website. The link is there in the chat. And if you want to learn more about our workshops as well as around Lean Six Sigma for AI, just reach out to us, reach out to me personally. Also more than happy to share a copy of my books. And we hope to see you again in some other of our events. So thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of the week and see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day. And my email's out there. If I'll just put this in the chat if anybody has any extra questions. Let's see here. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.